Well, obviously, the closing of the borders earlier on did have an impact on the ability of a New Zealander to travel to Fiji. And of course, with the travel restrictions or advisories placed on by the Australian government, even before the lockdown, obviously had an impact on the arrivals from those two countries.
So the Prime Minister mentioned how people aren't taking the message seriously. There's still a lot of movement and still people not adhering to the advisory for less than 20 gatherings. And he also mentioned that some freedoms may be further curtailed if people don't listen. Is that a hint of what the government is considering should the situation worsen?
I think the Honourable Prime Minister essentially was saying that it will be expanded to other parts of the country or be prolonged in Lautoka. That's what his statement exactly said, that if people don't adhere to the confined measurements that have been put in place, and obviously of the danger of the confinement period being extended in Lautoka or indeed being extended to other parts of the country.
The situation with Singapore, 2 deaths confirmed now, Fiji Airways still flying there. Government had any discussions yet with Fiji Airways about that situation?
Yeah, I think you'll find that there's a point of difference. If you do your background search, you'll find that those 2 people actually had been in hospital for quite a long period of time. So they died in the hospital itself. So it's not as if that the sudden death means sudden exposure. They have been, as you know, the Singaporeans took a different approach to many other countries. That anybody that had COVID-19, they actually put them in hospitals. Unlike other countries, for example, Italy, people were still out, but they were confined to their homes. So Singapore had a very different approach. And of course, if things evolve, as you know, the things evolve on an hourly basis, then, different measures will be undertaken.
So in terms of the relief packages, EFL, Water Authority of Fiji, Telecom and FNPF, have there been any sort of ground? Last time you mentioned they were still in talks in regards to the relief packages. FNPF, EFL and Water Authority of Fiji.
Relief package for, sorry?
From FNPF and...
Oh, okay. No, we obviously have discussions with those organizations, and those announcements will be made subsequently. But as you know that with the 2 utility companies, Vodafone and Digicel, they made a number of announcements in that respect. For example, the dollar value of what Vodafone has put out is in excess of $50 million over the next 3 months. And we also are talking currently to Telecom too, and we hope to have some announcements from Telecom today or tomorrow regarding the incentives that they will offer. Of course, in respect of the other utility companies like EFL, like Water Authority Fiji, they have their own challenges, but we are talking to them as to what they can do. Regarding FNPF, we've had discussions yesterday also. We've had numerous discussions in preparation for the announcement for the budget.
So will government provide assistance to some of the elderly living on their own inside Lautoka who may have been left isolated when the lockdown happened?
Well, the Ministry of Social Welfare, obviously, as you know, is in operation in Lautoka City. As you know that civil servants and civil service offices are all open, and assistance to those on social welfare, the elderly people, which the Ministry of Poverty, Alleviation and Welfare is responsible for, will indeed look at those matters should there be any genuine cases regarding abandonment, etc.
At this point, is the government particularly looking at some measures on public transportation, specifically buses? Obviously, you have more than 20 people that peak traffic times. You have at least 60 people. It's, we could call a high-risk place to probably spread the COVID-19 with all the close distances and all of that with the public.
Yeah, I mean, as the Honourable Prime Minister did say, that we need to ensure that we take measures. There are obviously workplaces. All of you are standing next to each other. You've come to work. I think there's nearly 20 of you over here. This is a workplace for you, but you're very close to Felix there. I wouldn't know if I want to be that close to him or other people around you, but the reality of the matter is that's the kind of distancing that would take place in, for example, in buses. So at this point in time, the Ministry of Health obviously has made those assessments, and that the transportation and public transport is obviously available. There is a measured risk in that respect. Of course, as the situation evolves, we'll be making further announcements regarding that.
So people are being asked to avoid restaurants and what have you. The Prime Minister mentioned the need for people to take deliveries. We're basically asking people to sort of slow down their activity. possibly asking them to reduce spending as well inadvertently, would that have a negative impact on an economy which seems to be heading towards negative growth?
No, I mean, we're not asking people to reduce their spending. We're simply asking them to put their health first. So if you want to have takeaway, or if you want to eat at a restaurant, we're suggesting to you, you have a takeaway. So the business activity will still take place. I mean, the restaurant will still get your order. You still buy your sweet and sour fish, but you simply eat it at home. So it does not mean the economic activity is reduced. It's just the place of where you actually conduct that activity is what we're saying needs to be looked at.
What sort of feedback are you getting from the retail sector in the past few weeks?
Well, obviously, all the retailers are, were concerned about, firstly, any impact on the supplies from overseas. As we've seen that the supplies have not necessarily been affected. There are certain areas, as we mentioned earlier on in the past few days, that where raw materials in particular were brought for various products or things that were being manufactured in Fiji. There was some impact on that, or people assessing. A lot of people, of course, as you know, have a stockpile of raw materials. In the same way, a lot of the supermarkets have their warehouses. And as you've seen in some of the supermarkets, whilst the shelves perhaps got emptied out, they've all now been refilled, some more perhaps than others. So at this point in time, there have not been necessarily any negativity around that, at least I'm talking about the non-confined areas. And even in the confined areas, there are some shops that are saying that perhaps the supply is outside the confined area. There may be a lack of accessibility to those products. That is currently being assessed, has also been announced by the Honourable Prime Minister. The Commissioner of Police is the one who will be managing that aspect of it. Should there be need, essential services obviously will flow within and into and out of the Lautoka confined area in a very managed manner. But should there be any sort of shortages within the confined area, that of course will be dealt with by the Commissioner of Police and the protocols that he's put in place in conjunction with the Ministry of Health.
So what should Fijians look forward to in the COVID-19 response budget on Thursday?
Well, I mean, as the name suggests, it is a response to the COVID-19 phenomena. Throughout the world, as you know, that many countries have announced various types of packages. In particular, as you know, the Australia and New Zealand packages have been there to stimulate the economy, because generally people slow down. I was just reading some statistics just before coming here. The hospitality industry has just told the Australian government they expect in the next 4 to 6 weeks 200,000 Australians to be unemployed from the hospitality sector. They've already had, I think, in excess of 40,000 people who are no longer employed because of the spiraling out of control of the hospitality sector. As you know, Australia, from memory, I think, gets at least 6 to 7 million tourists a year. So, hotels that essentially relied on overseas visitors, restaurants that relied on overseas visitors, etc., or even visitors from interstate will be affected. From our perspective too, you have to look at a country that has about 36 to 38% of its GDP dependent on the tourism sector. Many of the resorts, as you know, have already closed down. Some have said they'll close down for an indefinite period, depending on what happens with the COVID-19. Some have actually given a specific time period for which they will close. A couple of the ones that, well, more than a couple of the ones that we've spoken to have said they will take this opportunity to do some refurbishment. So, we have to obviously in the budget be able to cater for those different types of scenarios. Most obvious one is to be able to work with FNPF as to how we can provide some form of relief by way of access to finances for those people who are no longer employed or will no longer be employed for at least for a period of time. There are two categories of people that we see. One, of course, are those people who are employed in the confined area. And if those businesses that they work in or organizations they work in, they no longer can go to work, that's one category of people. The other category of people are those people, for example, in the tourism sector or related. It's not just hotels, but your tour operators, etc. So they have to be dealt with differently, because you can, of course, have in the confined area, hopefully everybody follows the directives that have been given. So if, and as Ministry of Health tells us, if the situation is under control, and it's all they call that if the confined area, for example, the confinement period ends and it's lifted, then there's a different scenario. Those people can go back to work. But if they can't go back to work, obviously they still have to stay away from work for a long period of time. How we deal with them is different to perhaps those people who will be out of work or have, you know, one day a week work for a long period of time. So there's the different scenarios we're looking at. Of course, there are many people in the informal sector. There are some people who aren't members of FNPF, but they may be making very healthy living, selling, you know, dal or cassava by the right side of the road, or mangoes or whatever it is, and that's the source of income of people selling coconuts. You know, you see, for example, in near McDonald's in Nandi, a group of people will sell coconuts. And some of these people make about, you know, $200 a week. Now, if suddenly they cannot sell their coconuts, they don't have a source of livelihood. So again, we need to be able to deal with them in a manner that is, of course, sustainable, because nobody knows at this point in time how long this COVID-19 lockdown throughout the world actually will continue for. It may die itself out in the next few months, or it could take 6 months.
Sorry. The tourism industry has taken a big hit. Some of the operators are saying it would take up to 2 years to recover because of the other countries that have placed restrictions. What sort of assistance is being given to the bigger operators? Obviously, you're trying to assist the workers, but also the operators themselves who are probably in a tight financial situation and will have to look at a long-term solution.
And you'll find out in the budget.
So the World Bank is giving $12 billion towards loan facility, I believe.
Not to Fiji.
Not to Fiji.
The 12 billion is not for Fiji, of course. It's going to be shared amongst many other countries. And Fiji, of course, is one of those countries that has just got COVID-19 first case confirmed only a few days ago. They treat different countries differently depending on their size, depending on the level of exposure to COVID-19, depending on the type of aggregation they have within the economies, the dependency on which sectors in the economies. Those sorts of things all need to be taken into account, and then they make those allocations accordingly, and you have to make submissions in respect of that.
Will Fiji be lobbying for some funding from the World Bank?
Yes, of course, through that special fund.
So pay cuts for civil servants and even ministers or cabinet itself on the table at this stage in terms of your work towards the budget?
The budget will announce many measures.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Naka.